to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mike.
Today, we're here to talk about Saints of April, Part Uno.
Yes, once again, we are dividing it up into two groups at the middle of the month.
Depending on how things go, we may eventually divide it into three.
Yeah, eventually, maybe. But I mean,
that would imply we have more than one or two factoids on each of these saints.
No, they'll just be shorter. The algorithm loves more frequent episodes.
I mean, at least we're not doing like evens and odds.
So,
we're going to start off with the 1st of April.
Saints Victor and Stephen, martyrs of Egypt, maybe Alexandria.
Yep.
Well, there goes my, saints I can pronounce for the entire month, so okay.
Yes. You can pronounce that.
On the 2nd, we have Blessed Volodymr Pryima.
Pryima?
Ukrainian Greek Catholic who was martyred by the Soviets. Dirty Reds.
Very apropos to these current days.
Yes.
Next, on April 3rd, we've got Saint Vulpian, a Syrian martyr killed in Lebanon during the reign of Diocletian. Boo, hiss. By being sewn into a sack with a snake and a dog and thrown into the sea.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that during the Diocletian persecution, they just grabbed a sack and whatever possibly dangerous animals they had before throwing them in the local body of water. This is the second one we've dealt with.
I'm thinking.
I believe the first one was scorpions.
Yes, I remember the sack of scorpions.
I'm thinking during the Diocletian persecution, they had like a YouTube challenge to see who could come up with the craziest way of martyring off a Christian.
The stories were totally spreading. We put this wild stuff in a bag and then threw them into the lake. Oh yeah, well we put scorpions in there.
It's very because that right there feels very much to me like an ice bucket challenge kind of a thing.
Totally. I'm still waiting for the martyr who was sewn into a sack with a monkey.
And then, of course, they went and they called out like 3 of their friends and said, bet you can't do one better.
Spurius, Lucius, Marcus, I'm talking to you.
Okay. All right, on the 4th, we have Saint Plato, who was a Greek monk and an abbot.
On the 5th, Saint Zeno. I love that name. That's an awesome name. Martyr, whose date, location, and location of death are unknown. But they're thought to be buried. They were thought to be buried alive.
No.
Burned alive. Burned alive. That's a little more hardcore than buried alive.
We don't know when and we don't know where, but usually.
I mean, if you're buried alive, you won't get made a saint. See poor, Thomas à Kempis.
Fair enough.
Well, no, as long as you don't try to dig yourself out. He was found with no scratch marks.
Well, if you're buried alive, as long as you don't do anything to leave any indication that you were buried alive, then you might still have a chance of, being a saint.
On April the 6th, we've got Saint Paul Tinh, a Vietnamese martyr who was a convert who became a priest and then died from beheading.
On the 7th, this is going to be tough. Saint Hegesippus the Nazarene, the father of church history. His writings are lost, besides passages quoted by Eusebius. But we know he was the first to record the history of the popes, and also wrote on other bishops' lives.
No, actual bishop lines. This
gotcha,
person was the first bishop of this town. This one was the second.
Okay.
Yep.
Other bishopric lines. And other church history, and against heresies.
Nice.
He's calling out you, Marcian.
I don't know the timeline, but I think so. Yeah.
Hey, if not in life, he's calling him out from heaven.
Yep.
On April the 8th, Saint Dionysius of Corinth, a bishop of Corinth, written about in Eusebius's ecclesiastical history. So, for all we know, Hegesippus wrote about him first.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that's true of a lot of ancient writings. It's true of a lot of ancient writings that they only survive in quotation or refutation.
No, I did count it right earlier. So this year, you're probably not going to be celebrating this particular saint's feast day Unless you're like really hardcore.
Nope.
No. I'm sorry. I can't think of a good reason for it.
There is no holier day than April 9th this year.
Yes, that is correct. If you are celebrating anything April 9th on April 9th this year, it had better be Easter, because I mean it's just what it is. But so that she may be prepared for next April 9th,
which is well after Easter, because we have an insanely early Easter at the end of March.
Yes. The 9th is the feast day of Saint Waldetrudis, a.k.a. Waltrude or Waudru, who was the daughter of Saints Walbert and Bertilia, sister of Saint Aldegunus of Maubeuge. I think that's how you pronounce that. Wife of Saint Vincent, Madelgarius, mother of Saints Landericus, Madalberta, Aldetrudis, and Dentelin, who established a convent at Châteaulieu.
I feel that we know way too much about this person to be on this list.
Well, I mean, I was going to just do...
we only know their family.
All the saints they were related to, but, I'm like, I got to have one fact about what they did besides they're like, let's just do the whole family.
And establish a convent.
I feel like more needs to be known about Saints Walbert and Bertilia, because daughter.
Yep.
Sister of daughter, so daughter.
Yep.
Or
son.
Yeah. Son-in-law,
and at least 3 grandchildren,
and at least 4 grandchildren who are all saints as well.
Yep. On April 10th, Saint Beocca, martyred by Danish raiders, aka Vikings, with 90 other monks, including Ethor, Iledda, or Hedda, and Torthred. Dang Vikings.
Now, it appears from the limited 2 sentence of the story that it wasn't necessarily like all at one time, but like on one raid they just went on the countryside and they killed 90 different monks,
as Vikings were wont to do, because they were
that's
jerks.
where we keep the gold and a bunch of people who are against fighting, so it really seems like a poor plan when you have Vikings around.
Well, in fairness, that's the convent and stuff were there before Vikings appeared out of the sea.
Yes. I'm just saying, after the first couple, summers of Vikinging, be like, you know what? We need some knights.
The Popish plot. Now we're for victim blaming.
I'm not victim blaming. I'm just
You're
saying.
totally victim blaming.
I'm just saying, the old-timey knights would totally be like, we will pray for you if you go and slash at invaders. And they'd be like, yes.
The crusading orders had not yet been established when the Vikings started raiding.
On the 11th.
So next honor when we get a time machine.
On the 11th, make sure you draw your double sixes, because it's the feast day of Saint
Domnio.
Oh, okay. No, I do see that now. Darn it.
I mean, we could call him Domino. I don't think that's a very Hebrew name.
It's the only way I know him now.
Seeing how
may have been the first bishop of Salona, and or one of the 72 disciples for the Bible. So from the Bible. So one of that initial group of 72 that went out.
On the 12th, we've got Saint Damian, a bishop of Pavia, who was a mediator between the Lombards and the Byzantine emperors. Good on him. Being a mediator between jerks and other jerks.
Seriously.
Someone has to take care of all these jerks of power.
On the 13th, Saint Hermengild.
Nice.
Visigoth prince, martyr, killed by being axed to death for not reverting to Arianism.
That sounds like Visigoths.
Yes, the Visigoths were Arians at the time. He converted, and they killed him for not converting back.
Yeah.
And an axe, which is the
for
most
those of you
normal way that people have been murdered in so far.
Depending on how you pronounce certain
There's no
words.
sack involved. There's no fire.
Depending on how certain individuals pronounce certain words in English, that one may have seemed kind of weird. That he was killed by being axed to death, but they weren't axing him questions. They were hitting him with a sharp metal object.
No.
Why don't you stop asking yourself? Why don't you stop asking yourself? Why don't you start asking yourself?
No. It's like Yoda when at 900 he got tired of listening to Luke 1. He's like, I'd just rather die. You asked too many questions. I must go to the light now.
On April 14th, Saint Domnina of Terni, who was martyred, possibly with Saint Valentine.
Yes, one of the Saint Valentines.
The one of Terni.
Yeah.
Who may or may not have been the one of Rome.
Who knows?
That's the think of St. Valentine's.
And on the 15th, Saints Maximus and Olympiades, Persian martyrs who were killed with metal rods.
Yes, they were just the non-interesting beaten with metal rods to death.
Oh, so they weren't skewered.
No.
That's the image I had.
Vlad was not involved.
Yeah. Oh, they were just beaten with metal rods.
All right, so there you have it. The first half of April Saints. Make sure you come back in a couple weeks for the second half.
See how many other weird ways people get martyred.
That's right.
Are there more sacks? Is there more fire?
Are there more metal rods? The answer is yes. There's always more metal rods.
Has anyone else asked a question?
Go down below. Leave us a comment. Let us know which saints you find interesting or which other saints you think we need to talk about.
Or which mispronunciations you think are most embarrassing for us.
Yes. And while you're down there, make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, the bell next to it so we know how much you enjoy this show and so you get notified when new episodes come out.
Which is what you want.
It's what you want. And until next time, remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.